Blanche Dubois, a faded southern belle rejected from her hometown and now finding shelter in her sister Stella's marital home, is the protagonist in Tennessee Williams' modern domestic tragedy A Streetcar Named Desire, a post-war play from 1947 that met some critical acclaim and some critique based on its harsh portrayal of American society at the time. Even from the exposition of the play, we get the impression that Blanche is different from the other characters we've been introduced to. Williams describes her in the stage directions of Scene 1 as incongruous to the setting, suggesting she's out of place and unwanted, but also establishing the alienation that Blanche will experience during her stay at the Kowalski home. We also get the introduction of the recurring motif of light in these stage directions, as Williams writes, her delicate beauty must avoid a strong light. This establishes Blanche as a somewhat superficial and vain character and foreshadows her repeated deceit towards the characters around her.
I don't tell truth. I tell what ought to be truth, and if that is sinful, then let me be punished for it. Don't turn the light on!
Once you peel back the layers of facade, it seems, deep down she is estranged and broken. This is emphasised by Williams' use of the adjective delicate. Within this quote also, the imperative must is utilised. This suggests some sort of desperation in Blanche to maintain her young Southern belle status, but also seems like an obligation that Blanche has to follow, which creates an impression of manic obsession and sets up the character's descent into madness and fantasy. Blanche has had a dramatic fall from grace, losing her family, wealth and beauty seemingly all at once, and now sleeping on a pull-out bed at her sister's house. Blanche makes up for this by being terminally optimistic at times. For example, in Scene 1 she says, "Open your pretty mouth and talk while I look around for some liquor. I know you must have some liquor in the place. Where could it be, I wonder? Oh, I spy, I spy." Once again she seems manic, but the constant use of exclamatives and repetition makes her voice sound patronising and tiresome as she attempts to act like everything is fine and normal. Of course there are breaks in this act, as she often has mood swings and says things like, "You're all I've got in the world and you're not glad to see me," which shows her vulnerability and reliance on others for a livelihood. Not exactly the strongest of female characters, you could say. That's a fundamental aspect of this character though. She's used to living the high life as a white rich woman who's never had to lift a finger for herself, and as a result, Stella becomes somewhat of a maid, and she constantly criticises the society around her as it's not as high class and etiquette centric as that of the old Deep South, which she romanticises and longs for, forgetting that the old Deep South also rejected her for her promiscuous love life and mental instability. There's some irony in there somewhere. And that concludes my overview of Blanche's characterisation. If this was helpful to you, leave a like, and if you think I've missed anything extremely important out about this character, please comment it down below to help others studying this text. I'm only an AS student, so I'm not exactly the most reliable source for revision material, but hopefully this gave you a few ideas. Bye!
Whoever you are, I've always depended on the kindness of strangers.